Genesis 9 and 3 is where we're going to start. Sharon, you want to come up here and read 1 through 3 and get us into the mood here of what's going on in the book of Genesis with Noah?
Okay. And God pronounced a blessing upon Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And the fear of you and the dread and terror of you will be upon every beast of the land, every bird of the air, all that creeps upon the ground, and upon all the fishes of the sea. They are delivered into your hands. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, and as I give you the green vegetables and plants, I give you everything."
All right. And what does everything mean?
Everything.
Everything. That means all the animals and everything at this time. There are not going to be any unclean animals to eat as far as we know. They're going to eat everything. Okay?
And this is when meat eating began.
Yeah, this is when meat eating, the very beginning of meat eating. This was the very start of it right here. So now God is going to put the fear, or has put the fear in animals of mankind. And the animals begin to eat each other too, don't they? He changes the whole digestive system of everything. Now let's read this, 9 and verse 3. Kol, Remes, Ashir, Hu, Chi, Lahem, Yeh, Liachila, Keyerek, Esev, Natati, Lahem, Eth, Kol, and that's it. Every creeper, Remus means creeper, all these little creeps, everything that creeps on the earth, which is alive. Every creeper which is alive, for you, it shall, or he shall keep on becoming, is what it literally says. He shall keep on becoming. Now let's conjugate that verb, Brother Roger. He shall keep on becoming there. Yeah.
Third person, masculine, singular, cal, imperfect.
All right, third person, master, singular, cal, imperfect. Imperfect tense means what, Christine? Imperfect tense. By the way, TC was extremely taken by your brilliance today, all of you people, especially yours.
Oh, the class.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, by the class. Boy, he said, your class is smart. And imperfect tense means what? Sharon?
You do it and keep on doing it.
Just keep on doing it. Imperfect. Continuous action. Imperfect. It shall keep on becoming lekala, for food, for goodies, for eats, is what it literally says, for eats. Kayerek, like greenies, like greens. They were eating greens, herbs before, weren't they? They were eating leaves, they were eating, well, let's just think about what you can eat in your yard today. How many of you have rose bushes?
Yeah, I eat them.
You eat the rose bush, you eat the roses.
I eat dandelions.
Yeah. All of these things are good for you, aren't they? They're all medicine, so to speak. Rose leaves. I used to have a duck. Nobody remembers my duck. I don't have anybody here that remembers my duck. That duck followed me and led me on that farm for 8 years. And I'd go out there, and when I'd trim the roses, that duck would eat every rose petal off of the leaves. He would just act like, and he'd throw the stuff over there in a pile. He was working with me. I mean, I'd go around out there, and he would be working and helping me, and just like he was doing it. He'd lead me over to the next bush. He'd get out there, and he'd be gobbling these things and lead me over to the next bush, and I'd get out there, and I'd trim all these off, because if you leave the roses on a rose bush, they won't bloom anymore. You cut them off, they'll just keep on blooming. So I did that. Now you can eat those roses and the rose buds after the roses become hips. You can boil that and make tea out of it. Well, at least in wild ones, I know that because I used to eat brew rose hip tea all the time, and it's got a lot of vitamin C and herbs and things for you. I used to go and pick up what they called squaw tea or Indian tea, and we would. I still have some of that home too. I'd brew that, and it'll clean your blood and all of that. All of these things, and you could have this, see, these are things you could eat. That I have given, natati, I have given. Let's conjugate that one, Sharon. Natati.
First person.
Yeah. Construct.
Construct. Okay. Just wanted to-
Construct, singular.
And perfect.
And perfect. I have given. Perfect tense is what kind of action, Christine? Completed action.
Right now.
Completed.
Yeah.
It's done. It's already done. The first two verbs in the Hebrew Bible are bara and hathya. All right? Hayata. Those are the two Hebrew words. The first one is third person masculine singular, cal perfect. How do you translate that?
And it happened. It's done.
It is done, all right? God, he had created, all right? He had created the heavens and the earth, and then it says hayata, and that means third person masculine, or third person feminine singular, cal perfect. She had become. So this is also, I have given, completed action. I have given lehem to you. We have the little preposition with a basically the third person pronoun there, or second person pronoun with it. And then et, sign of direct object. And then we have this little adjective that means all. All things. All things. I've given you all things. What kind? All things. All the creepers. 9 and verse 4 now. 9 and verse 4. Ach, basar, bin nafsho, damo, lo, tachilu. Ach means but. This is another word for but. And in the Greek New Testament, what would that strong adversative conjunction be, Brother Roger? You remember what the strong adversative conjunction in Greek is? It sounds like the Muslim word for God. Allah. 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 Strong adversative conjunction. Not the rock. We're not talking about the rock in the Kaaba. Okay? Ak, but. Basar. What does basar mean? Let's bring it into Greek. Sarx. Bring it into Latin. Carne. All right. But flesh. Ben nafsho. Ben nafsho. Look at that word. What's the root of this word, Brother Roger? Ben nafsho. What's the root of that? Nephish. Nephish. Nephish is the root. So what is that?
Soul.
The soul. All right. But flesh with its soul. The soul of it. With flesh with the soul of him. Or the soul of her. Flesh with the soul of her. Its blood. Damo. Damo. Its blood. So flesh with its blood in it is verboten, forbidden. Now let's look at some of the things that people do. They make blood sausage something. That's forbidden. Even in the New Testament, in all reality, it's forbidden, isn't it? Is it or not? According to Acts, the 15th chapter, is the eating blood forbidden? Blood goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. Blood is a sacred thing of the animal. So don't eat the blood. It's God created the animal, and God has created in this animal a soul, a body, and a spirit. Animals are triune, just like man is triune. God makes things triune. So do not eat the flesh with life still in it, which is the blood. Now, how many of you have ever seen these Oriental restaurants where they take these fish that are still alive and cook them, and they put them on your plate, and you're supposed to eat it while it's still flopping? That is not good. Not good for the animal, the fish, and it's not good for you, because you are denying the sacredness of its life, which God gave to it. God put the life in that animal, and it has a soul in that animal. So we shouldn't do that. A lot of times when you talk about kosherly killing animals, a lot of animals, they run chickens through a thing that cuts their heads off, and they're flopping, and they're gutting those things and picking those things, and these animals like pigs and stuff, they'll shock them, and they're still alive when they're gutting them and skinning them, and they're half alive when they're butchering them, which isn't the way it's supposed to be. In some of these slaughterhouses, they are supposed to kill 250, 200, 250, 300 animals per shift. And then you see packages that says kosher beef, kosher chicken, kosher. In other words, they kill the animal and it's dead when you start butchering it. It's dead. You drain the blood out of the animal. You let the blood drain out of the animal because it's life. And all animals, I don't care what it is, every animal is sacred to God. Its life is sacred. We go all the way back here, and it's that way into the New Testament. We don't want to think about this a lot of time, but it is. God loves all life. He created life. Now, he gave these animals for them to eat, didn't he? They had not been given to animals. Animals were created to be companions. But now they're going to be food, and God puts the fear of mankind in them. But you remain to understand that this animal's life is sacred. Always when I pray like an Indian. You've been with me when I prayed and ate. What do I always say?
Thank you for the food that you put before me and for the life that,
Thank you for the food you given for me and the animals that gave their lives for us and the fruit from your earth. That's what. I thank you for the animals that gave their lives for me because it's God's life in those animals. It's not my life. I don't own that life. God owns that life, and he owns that blood. You know, and I've said this many times, that in the wilderness, when Israel wandered for 40 years in the wilderness, out there in the wilderness, before they went into the promised land, they had to take every animal that they slaughtered for home use. It had to be slaughtered sacredly by the priest. They had to kill it kosher-like by the priest. It had to be dead. It had to be killed in a kosher manner, where the animal, they used a sharp knife to cut its throat. And they cut its throat and made sure that it was dead before they started doing anything else to it. They let its lifeblood drain out of it before they began to butcher it. That's kosher. That's what it states right here. We need to remember that whatever we do. A lot of people, we kill animals to eat, but make it sacred. Being an Indian, I'm worse about this than what normal people are. I was a hunting guide, and I killed a lot of deer in my life, a lot of deer. But when I'd killed a deer, I would do things. I would put out tobacco, which is, thank you, God, for this gift that you gave me. That's what Indians do, okay? They put this little tobacco out there, and that's a thank you to God. And I would bury its heart. It wasn't mine. The heart does what? It's what pumps all the blood. And so I would bury that heart in the ground. And the wild animals, I told you about when I'd go up on to Home Ranch, when I was a guide up on to Home Ranch. I had this one red-tailed hawk that followed me around up there. And he got the idea that I was going to leave him food when I killed a deer. And so he would follow me around. And I told my friend Phodios Kyriakopoulos that I said, watch this hawk. He said, you're crazy. I said, watch him. You think I'm crazy? After 2 or 3 trips up there, he said, what's the hawk doing today? Where's the hawk showing us? Where's the deer? One day I went up there, very first time I took him up there, I said, the hawk's going to follow us. He's going to tell me where the deer are. He's going to circle the deer herd. Because I fed him a lot of times already. I'd always leave the guts out there and different things for him to eat. Part of the liver, something, I would leave things so that hawk could eat. And anyway, he was circling around on top of this mountain, way off, up on top of this mountain, but he just kept circling like this, circling. Then he'd come back this way, he'd circle back up there to make sure I was watching him. I said, there's a buck deer up there on that hill. So I got my 40 power spotting scope out, and I said, there he is. He said, you can't make that, shot's too far. I said, I know where my gun shoots. That's nothing. About 1,000, 1,100 yards. And I had on my scope exactly where I turned it to do that. There was no wind, so I didn't have to worry about the wind, or the mirage of the wind or anything like that. I sat down there with I set that in my bench rest on the front of my Jeep pickup. I sat there and breathed and stopped and held my breath, and I put that at exactly the right place. He said to me before I did it, he said, if you shoot that deer and kill that deer, it's impossible. But if you do, I will go up there and get it and bring it to you. And I shot that deer, and it went flop, just like that. It's a 300 Winchester Magnum. You know, it's powerful load. Flop. It hit like that. He danced around and started hollering, going around all over. He said, it's magic. That's not magic. I know where my gun shoots. That's no problem. They do this, don't they, in the military? You shoot 1,000 yards. This is what you do. Anyway, he went up there, and he rode the deer down the mountain. It goes all downhill from there. And I butchered this thing, and that hawk followed me. I put that out there. We go down the road. I leave the deer in the tree, and I hung the deer up in the tree, and I left it there because I'm going to go get another deer, but I'm going to leave him standing, draining right there. And the hawk is down there eating like that. Of course, he's busy now. He's not going to follow me anymore for a while. So we went up there, and the next time we went in the woods, he said, where's the hawk? Where's the hawk? What's the hawk telling you? What's the hawk telling you? Animals communicate. You just listen. Have you ever heard a jaybird tell on you when you went in there, Floyd, in the woods? Huh? Do animals communicate? All the species? You walk into a place where birds are, and a jaybird will sit up there and tell on you every time. And tell them, everybody else, hey, there's a two-legged person walking into the woods. There's a man coming into the woods. They talk. They talk to each other. Walk flat-footed like an Indian, do whatever you want to, not make one sound, and a jaybird will tell on you anyway. But flesh with its soul of its blood, not. That adverb of negation there, lo, not. Conjugate that one for me. Can you do that, Christine?
I can't.
Okay, tochilu. How about Brother Abe? Can you do that one? You know, that's the last word in this sentence. In 9 and verse 4. 9 and verse 4.
Tachulu,
Tochilu, yeah.
second person masculine, plural.
Yeah, second person masculine plural.
Call imperfect.
Call imperfect. So now how should we do this? Not, you shall keep on eating, don't do it. Who had done this before the flood? Who had been doing this? The Nephilim and Cain's descendants. They were excellent killers, weren't they? Excellent killers. And they had been drinking the blood. You read the book of Enoch and talk about how they drank the blood as the animal was dying. As the animal was dying. When you see these Africans over there in Africa tapping the jugular vein of these cows, the first thing, yes.
Whenever I visit the steakhouse, can I rare, like a raw rare?
Do what?
A medium rare or like a...
Oh, that's all right.
Can I eat?
Sure.
So also...
It's medium rare, whatever you want. Rare, whatever you want to do. But the blood, the animal's blood, it's life. People would come and eat an animal while it was dying. While it was dying, they would eat it a lot of times. They wanted to see, have you seen, what's that fish that they fry? They do a real quick fry job on it, and they hand it to you while you're in these Oriental restaurants while it's still flopping. Have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about. You haven't done that. That's what they do. Eat it while it's alive. That's not what you do. Is that respecting the nephesh of the animal, the soul of the animal? Is it respecting the Spirit of God put in it? No. Not, you shall keep on eating. No, you can have rare steaks in a
It's
steakhouse.
already-
Oh, yeah, it's fine. It's
already
dead.
died.
It's dead. Okay? You didn't have anything to do with it. I wrote a book one time called The Introduction to the Thoughts and Customs of the American Indian. And I said, we eat. We go to McDonald's, we go to the Black Angus Steakhouse and everything else, and we're so far removed from the life that's in this food. We ought to go to a slaughterhouse before we ever eat anything and just think about it for just a little while. Think about it. Then you respect what you eat because it is God's life in it. I don't understand all about animal life, but I know three things about animal life. It has a body that we use for food a lot of times. It has a soul in it. It has nephesh. We just looked at that, didn't we? Does animals have nephesh or not? Do they have souls? Yeah. Do they think? People always talk about dumb animals, dumb animals, dumb animals. Do they think? Well, you got to be pretty dumb if you don't think an animal thinks. They do think. Do they love? Yes. Do they hate sometimes? You ever seen one get real mad and hate and don't like somebody? Never, 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 never.
My turkey hates my cat.
Yeah.
And he taunts that turkey all the time.
Yeah. These animals feel. They feel. Do they remember? Do they have minds? They have memories? Sure they have memories. And you're going to eat it. Yeah. You're going to eat it. When you eat it, you're eating a soul. You're eating something that had a soul in it one time. That we don't need to become vegetarians because God has given these animals to us, but we need to respect what they are. We need to respect what we eat. We need to remember that these were created as our companions. What caused these animals to be turned into food to begin with?
Our sin.
Our sin. Did the animals have anything to do with it? No. It's man's sin that has something to do with it. I don't think we're going to be eating too many animals over here in eternity future. Huh? Or in this period of time, even. I've trained everything that walks, crawls, and swims in my life, or flies. They've trained me, I might say. Maybe. 9 and 5. Et demkem linafashotikem. That's a long word, isn't it? Edros. Miad. Kol. Kaya. Edrus. Shanu. Umiad. Ha'adam. Miad. Ish. Achi. Edrosh. Et. Nephish. Ha'adam. Have you learned anything about from Hebrew about the animal kingdom? About man? What have you learned in here? It opens up a whole new avenue of thought. You know, the Bible, would look at it from any translation, and you look at it and you get men's ideas, and you get men's interpretation of them. When you look from the originalation, you get God's eyesight into it. It's different. Okay? Whole different story. Whole different story. Not only that, but you come to a blank wall so many times, but from the original language, you get to open that door, or you get to move through that window into a brand new area, a brand new, and then you look from that room into another room, into another room, into another room. You just keep going further than what you could ever do without it. Brother Roger, have you learned something? Brother Abe, you learned you could eat steak in a steakhouse tonight.
I was thinking, can I with it?
Cutting this animal.
Blood?
Yeah.
Lots of blood with this.
Yeah, sometimes. They should drain the blood better than they do. But that's not living blood in there. It's not the sausage is not living blood, but this blood sausage is no. That's still verboten. It's still forbidden. Still. People might like it. My grandfather used to like blood sausage, Italian. But Had a problem with it. I have a lot more problem with it now. See, I didn't know this then. I would have never touched it if I'd have known this. And I don't care how good it tastes, because why? That represents the sacredness of the life that God put in that animal. And it's forbidden. Period. Et. Sign of direct object. Et blood. Blood, your bloods to your souls. Look at that. Yet your bloods to your souls. To your souls I shall keep on demanding. What does this say here, Christine?
For your life.
You kill an animal and drink its blood, you are guilty of capital crime.
Really?
That's right. You're guilty of murder. This is it. You eat an animal with its blood, you do this, and you're guilty of a capital crime. In other words, it's a death penalty. The penalty for doing this was death. Is that sacred? Yeah, that's sacred. I shall keep on seeking from your hand all living beings. I will demand it. I will demand it. I shall keep on demanding it. From the hand of man, humanity, from the hand of each man, a brother, I shall demand it. I shall keep on demanding it. The soul of the man. Sharon, you want to come up here and read that? The last two verses for me, please, and from the Amplified Bible. Let's just see what they say about this. See if they want to touch this story. Touch this subject. Let's see how far they want to go with it. 9, 4, and 5.
But you shall not eat flesh with the life of it, which is its blood. And surely for your lifeblood I will require an accounting. Of every beast I will require it, and of every man who spills another life blood I will require a reckoning.
I shall keep on requiring. That's the death penalty. That's pretty strong language, isn't it? Pretty strong language. Is this before the law of Moses? That is. This is the basic law of human government. This is what makes humanity tick now. Okay, this is basic rules for man living with man. If you kill a man and shed a man's blood, you must die. This is the death penalty is instituted right here. I don't care what you think. But when you do this, and if there's pure evidence that you have done this, you should die. Your blood should be shed. Now, in Utah, how many of you know about Utah? Utah is what kind of a country? That's Mormon country.
Yeah.
In Mormon country, the death penalty there is by what?
Firing squad.
By firing squad. Why?
Because they want to know you died.
No, because your blood has to be shed.
Oh.
They go from this right here. And Joseph Smith was real strong on this right here. I mean, he got one thing right. Of all the things he got wrong, he did get this right. A person's blood shall be shed. And so by firing squad or by decapitation, not electrocuted, not hung and strangled, but his blood needs to be shed. Now, any of those things kills you. All these things kill you. But your blood should be shed. It's what it says here. Okay? Now they have lethal injections, all the other things that they do to kill people when they are guilty of the death penalty and when they do this. The death penalty is a deterrent to crime. It really is. It was in Jesus' time. It was in Abraham's time. It was Noah's time, supposed to be. That puts fear in you. If you know there's a reckoning. And who put down these rules? Who put these rules down? Was it Judge Noah? No. Who is it? Jehovah himself. All right. Shofek. Dam, Ha-Adam, Ba, Ba-Adam, Demo, Yesh, Yeshofak, Ki, Betzle, Betzi-Lem, Elohim, Asal, Et, Ha-Adam. When you got to look at every verse with everything in it, it sure means a whole lot more, doesn't it? Shofek. Let's look at that word. Master, senior, cal, participle. One who pours out. One who pours out blood. Ha-Adam. One who pours out blood belonging to mankind.
So, where's
Yes.
the back door for military?
Huh? That's war.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Is there a segment of the Bible that sort of describes that?
Well, you didn't eat anybody, did you?
No.
Over there. They do that.
Yeah.
Did the Catholics eat their victims? They were cannibals. You go into the valleys of the Piedmont, they ate those people. They go in there, and you go even to Muhammad's people, they ate people. They practiced cannibalism so many times. Practiced cannibalism. They would eat their livers and things. Have you heard of Jeremiah Johnson? The mountain man Jeremiah Johnson? You know what his name was? Jeremiah Johnson. You know what his name was? Liver eating Johnson. He killed Indians and would eat their liver. Liver eating Johnson. A little bit rough. Yeah. They killed his wife, so he went and killed all the Indians, and every Indian he killed, he ate his liver. We're the military. Go back to that. There are times when you have to fight. Did Israel fight in wars? Did God sanction it? Yes, it did. They did. What? And this gives it to here. Now, if you are living in a nation, if a nation comes against you and sheds your blood, your people's blood, do you have a right to shed their blood? According to the Bible? You do. So if they come and attack you, is America under attack? Do we have a right to go and shed blood? Did we attack them, or did they attack us? First blood. They drew first blood, didn't they? So then they're responsible for this until that situation is remedied. And what remedies the situation? What does the death penalty, what does war, how do you know when you've finished? How do you know when you won? When they are afraid to shed any more blood, that's when you know you won. When you finally put enough fear in them. See, the death penalty is a deterrent to crime, isn't it? War, when you go and you fight your enemy and you kill the enemy and you kill enough of them for they're afraid to kill anybody else, that's when you know you won. When they are succumbed. Is that meanness? What are you doing? You're trying to get that enemy to respect the basic laws of God. You don't do this. You do this, you must die. You shed blood, you must do this. You must die. Literally it says, the shedder, the one pouring out blood from mankind, by the agency of mankind, his blood, here's your war right here, Brother Roger. This is individual and national. Nations have personalities, don't they? Do nations have personalities? Just look in history. Do nations have personalities? Just start analyzing them. Analyze them. Analyze the nations in history. And what kind? Were they aggressive? Were they wanting to just exist, coexist with other nations? Do they try to push their borders, try to conquer? Do they kill? Do they manipulate? What do they do? Just analyze a nation. What kind of personality does a nation have? You can figure that out, can't you? It's not too hard, is it? I'm going to tell you something else too. Every nation that has had a church state set mindset is they have the idea that they are the conveyors of the justice of God, and they will kill to the last man everybody because they think they're on God's side. They're doing God's business, so they will do this. And there's more religious wars been fought. More people have died over religion in the history of mankind than anything else. Is that right or not? Examples. Roman Catholicism. 50 to 100 million Christians that they killed. Yeah? John Calvin, Martin Luther, did they kill people? Are these state churches? They came out of Catholicism. What do they understand? To control the state and the church are one, and they control everybody, and they will keep you under their control, or you will pay the penalty, which is death. Many times it was death or imprisonment. Now, what about Islam? That's one of the most prime examples of murder in the history of the world. You look at Islam and you look at Catholicism, and they chase each other back across the Mediterranean Sea, back and forth and back and forth. Murder, 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 murder. Shedding men's blood in the name of religion. Does the Bible anywhere tell us to kill people to convert them? Does it tell us to kill people to get them on our side? Does it tell us to basically even institute morality to a certain extent? No. Now, you can't go out and rape and kill and steal and things like that. We're not supposed to do that, are we? But you don't go kill people because they're not Baptist. You don't go kill people because they won't convert to Catholicism or to Islam. I don't care what they leaders say, you don't do that. If they do that, they're going against volition of mankind. Did God give mankind a volition? Does God kill a person when they won't believe? Right there? How many times did you go to church and hear the gospel before you were saved? How many times? Sometimes we grow up in it and we won't listen, huh? Is God merciful? Mm-hmm. Oh, praise God. Glory, hallelujah, is He merciful. Isn't He? Merciful. He gives us volition. God made man in His spiritual likeness, and His shadow-casting likeness, and His blood-flowing likeness, and His sovereign likeness. God gave animals volition. You just look in the Bible if they don't think they have volition. Angels have volition, spirits have volition. Man has volition. You don't kill people because they won't convert. You let them go on. God will take care of them. He'll put them in file 13 in the end. Let Him do it. Leave room for God to take care of the justice. As long as he pays his taxes. Is a citizen, doesn't go out there and run over people going down the road, steal and all that kind of stuff, just let him coexist. The Lord will take care of him in the end. Try to get the gospel to them. That's our job. We're supposed to preach. Preach, preach, preach. How do you build churches? Preach. How do you convert people? Preach, preach, preach. Not by the sword, not by gunpoint, but by preaching the word. In man, or by the agency of man, blood, his blood, blood of him, it shall keep on being poured out. He shall keep on being poured out. Because Betzelem. In shadow image, spiritual image. Mankind, or Elohim, He has made the mankind. When you kill a man on purpose for meanness, you have insulted God because you killed someone that was made in His image. This is the initial. This is the what we call first blood. When you go and you kill somebody just because you don't like them, or you're mad like Cain did Abel, or Nimrod and his bunch did, when you do that, you've insulted God and you have destroyed something God made. Only God has the right to take that life. You don't have the right to take that life. You may not like him, you might agree him, but there's no way in this world that you should kill him because he doesn't agree with you or because you don't like him. Now, if he's trying to hurt you and do violence to you and your life is in danger, yes, you can shed his blood. Because you're threatened, aren't you? You're threatened. But don't do it just because you want to. Don't go out and try to get somebody to attack you so you can kill them. There are people that do that. And legally, I've gone through training courses for an armed guard for 30-something years. And we go through the legalities of the law, the shedding of blood, and it really is very strict. You carry a gun, you've got a big responsibility. If you have to kill somebody, you better make sure you had to kill them because your life was in danger. Do you know if somebody comes in your yard and tries to steal something that doesn't want to harm you, you can't kill them? You can't do that. You can call the cops and tell them he stole it and you can identify him and all that kind of stuff, but you can't shoot him because he's still in your tractor. If he comes at you while he's still in your tractor and threatens your life, yeah, you can shoot him. But you don't go out there, somebody comes in the yard, you don't go out there and make them mad so you can get in a fight with them so you can shoot them because then you're threatened. Because that's what the jury's going to look at when you do that. It's from these verses right here in the Bible. That's where it comes from. Even though maybe they don't understand that, but that's where it all comes from. You know that one time, every doctor, before he got his doctor's MD, that he had to be a doctor, have a doctorate of theology, every lawyer, every judge, before he got his doctorate in law, he had to have a doctorate in theology first. He had to know the Bible. He had to know the Bible. You go back and you read the old strong cases, the old murder cases, whatever, you read any kind of cases in American history, especially Moulman Pruitt. That was one of the greatest lawyers in the history of America. He was a scoundrel, but he was a lawyer. But you know what? He memorized the whole King James Bible. He'd get up there and preach a whole sermon and have them, their eyes bawling, even though the person had been seen killing somebody by 50 or 100 or 200 people. In the end, they would say, not guilty. Because he'd wrangle them with the Word of God. Wrangle them with it. He didn't believe in the death penalty. He did believe in imprisonment. And one time, he got this murderer off. And he knew that he was a murderer, and he was a very vicious, terrible murderer. And they put him in prison in Texas. And Moulman Pruitt went down there to Texas, and he went in there and talked to the warden. And he said, "Sir, I got this man life sentence in prison. Make sure he has a life sentence in prison. Do not ever turn him loose. If you turn this man loose, he will kill your wife and rape her." Maybe in that order. He will steal everything. He has no conscience. He is a sociopath, and he belongs to be in jail the rest of his natural life. Do not turn him loose. Do not turn him loose. Never. No way turn him loose. You know that we have a bunch of criminals turned loose on society right here? They turned that man loose. He went to San Francisco, and the first thing he did was went into and got a hold of a Jewish jeweler and killed him mercilessly and stole everything he had. That's the first thing he did. No conscience. No conscience. Murderers. Murderers. It would have been a whole lot better if that man was executed, wouldn't it? It would have stopped the problem. Now, Jerry Brown does not believe in the death penalty because he's a Catholic. He doesn't believe in taking life. But he didn't read this back here. For some reason or other, he missed this boat. Every time you hear him make a speech, he's preaching a sermon. Just listen to him sometime. He's preaching from the Bible because he was trained to be a priest. He was going to be a priest. Listen to him make his speeches. Sometimes he needs to be reminded what this says right here. But he doesn't believe in the death penalty. But these people, like Moulman Pruitt said, that man needs to be behind bars. Now, he got off another man off for murder one time. His name was Charlie Bias. He was a black man. And he lived out in the woods, all away from everybody else, and they was totally uncivilized. And these people lived like animals, so to speak, out there. The strongest lived. The strongest got the girl. Well, Charlie Bias and this other man, and they were Indian and black crosses, you know. At this time, they were mixed bloods between blacks and Indians. He went out there, and they were over in love with the same woman, or in lust with her or something. So they went out there, and they're going to go out there and fight in the woods. And the best man that walks off is going to get the girl. So they go out there, and they're fist fighting, and they're beating each other, chewing each other's ears off and nose, and biting and clawing and scratching and everything. And finally, this one guy is down on the ground. So Charlie Bias goes over there. He's going to get on his horse and leave and go after the girl. He's won. The guy came up and he grabbed a knife and went after Charlie Bias. Charlie Bias hit him and knocked him down. Pulled his head and cut his throat on one side, pulled his head over, sliced his throat on the other side, and then took the knife and stabbed it in his eye and twisted it. And they arrested him for murder. He didn't know anything about God, didn't know anything about anything, this Charlie Bias did. He was just totally illiterate, totally, what would say, partially retarded, so to speak. And Moulman Pruitt defended him without pay. No pay. I just can't stand to see this man that's so ignorant his life be taken hung. He was going to send him to Ardmore, Oklahoma, and hang him. Well, he went through, and I mean, he fought the case with everything that he had. But he was so, and they put him on the stand, and he said, "What did you do, Charlie?" Did you knock him on the ground? Yes. Did you take the knife? Tell us what happened. I pulled his head over, I cut his throat, I pulled his head that way, I cut his throat again, and I stabbed him in the eye with the knife. And left it in his skull, and I twisted it. And the jury says, first degree murder. He killed him. Even though it came after him with a knife, you can't, somebody comes after you with a knife, you stop him. Stop him. Stop him. Stop the threat. Now, if he'd had a gun on him, that guy came with a knife, he could have shot him. And he's okay. But that's what happened. He knocked him down, incapacitated, pulled his head to the side, cut his throat, pulled his head to the other side, cut the other side of his throat, and then stabbed him in the eye and twisted it. Is that protecting himself? No. Pretty vicious murder, wasn't it? It went on and on and on. What tried it, he appealed it, everything else. And they finally were going to hang him, and they were sending him to Ardmore, were going to hang him. And so he, on his own reconnaissance, on his own money, he went to Washington, D.C., and he's going to get the President of the United States to pardon this guy and commute his sentence to life imprisonment. He said, the man's like a dog. You don't go out and hang a dog for killing another dog. You don't do that. But the Bible says if you did, if the dog killed a dog, if a cow gored a cow and stuff like that, you do kill them. Because they're dangerous. The least, he should have been imprisoned for his whole life. He went up there, he went to the Attorney General. They gave him a bunch of trouble. Nobody believed he was on there on his own money. Why are you up here? While he was in Washington, D.C., Moulman Pruitt never drank. But while he was in Washington, D.C., he began to drink like these politicians did. Big time. And he became an alcoholic the rest of his life over there trying to defend Charlie Bias. Well, he finally got the president to sign his sentence that was life in prison with no chance of parole. Said, Moulman Pruitt said, don't parole him. Don't parole him. He might do this again, so let's don't turn him out there loose on society. I mean, he's an ignorant savage, basically, is what he called him, ignorant savage, but don't let him have a chance of doing this again. And he got him off, and about an hour before he was supposed to hang, they told Charlie Bias he's having his last dinner, and they said, oh, by the way, Charlie, you don't have to hang today. And he said, okay. What would you do? He was really ignorant. Okay. He really wasn't all there. And so there was that merciful thing. Since he wasn't all there, he didn't understand. They kept him behind bars the rest of his life. He became a ward of the state. You sure couldn't turn him loose in society. Could you trust him to be turned loose in society again? Ever? No. What would be the real penalty here? His blood was supposed to be shed. That would take care of it. And what would it do? Everybody in his ignorant neighborhood would have been afraid to kill their other friends like he did. If you took him out and hung him. Charlie hanged today because he killed a guy there. Oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe if we do this, maybe we will get hung too. 9 and verse number 7. 9 and 7. We atam Peru, Yurivu, Scherzu, Va'aretz, Yurivu, Va. Lots of Va's in there, aren't they, Brother Roger? We are Tom, and you, be fruitful. Masculine and plural, cal imperative, be fruitful. And multiplying. Be fruitful and multiply. What does that mean? Ye swarm. Multiplying. In the earth. Swarm. That's what we call... have you ever been out in the ocean or a lake where there's so many fish around you, they were like bumping on the boat? That's a swarm of fish, people. How about going out in Dairyland and have a swarm of flies around your head? We know all about this life. You've done a pretty good job of multiplying, haven't you? Yeah, you did your job, haven't you? You've done her. She's 5 kids. She's done her job. Done pretty good. And you're raising them pretty good, too. That's good. Multiplying. Multiplying, swarming, like fish in the sea. Making little children, making children. And making those children learn and respect God's laws. That's very important. Very important. Make them learn and respect God's law. Don't just pop them out and turn them loose on society and let them become wards of the state like is so often common in our time. Swarming, multiplying in earth. And becoming many, becoming great. Va. In her. Becoming great in her. In the earth. Become great in the earth. Become great in the earth. 9 and verse 8. Wayomer. Elohim. El Noach. Wiel Bana Eto. Lemor. And he said, and kept on saying Elohim, unto Noah, and unto his sons with him, saying, literally to say. That's what it says, to say. To say. Let's find out what he's going to say. 9 and verse 9. Wa'ani, that is, hine, mikem, et beriti, itakem, we et zarakem, acharikem. And I, and I, behold. Am about to cause or keep on causing to establish. The Greek word for this would be histemi, wouldn't it? I'm going to make it stand. I'm going to cause it to stand. I'm going to cause it to stand up. My covenant with you. And with your Zarakem, and with your seed, spermati in Greek, means to sow, after you. I'm going to make my covenant, methemos, after you, with your seed, zera, spermati in Greek, and with the seed after you. 9 and verse 10. We'et, call nephesh, hachaya, asher itakam, ba'af, bihima, you may call shayath, haaretz, itakam mikol, Yatzi'eh, Hativa, Lekal, Shayath, Haaretz. And that we eth there, we have an and we have a sign of a direct object which we cannot translate. And every soul, that's nephesh. We have body, we have souls, and we have spirit. Spirit is life. Every living soul, every individual of life, chaya, living, hachai, the living, which with you, look at this now. Do birds have souls? Yeah. In fowl, in behemah, in cattle. This is big cattle, isn't it? Big cattle. In Greek, that would be katenon, big cattle, and in all living things. The earth, with you at the camp, from all going out, masculine and plural, cal participle, all going out, the ark, the boat, to all living beings, the earth. Where are all these living beings going to come from? From the ark. All of the animals that were mammals were mammals and fowl that were in the ark that life was saved from. There were fish in the sea, weren't there? They weren't in the ark, but the fish in the sea. Now think about the fish in the sea were not involved as the animals in the ark, were they? But God changes everything. Did he say that he's going to put the fear of man in the fish of the sea? Yeah. He's going to put fear of the animals in the fish of these living beings in the sea. All of these animals, all of these living beings, the swimmers, the wing flappers, the big animals and the little animals and the crawlers and the creepers, is going to have the fear of man in it. Don't you wish that them red ants in your yard fear you a little bit more? I'm kiddingly saying this, but I think them wasps, hornets, and bad ants are demons. They're demonic materializations. Once they bite you, you might think that also. I've had plenty of them. All right,
keep on doing it.
Yeah, they keep on doing it. You know, a bee will sting you to protect his tribe. And when he stings you, he loses his life. But a wasp just keeps on doing it. Them little vicious-looking things, they look like little devils when you look at their faces. Whatever devils look like.
Yeah, and they'll run you down.
And they'll run you down. They're mean. Little rascals. But you know what they are? They're a curse. They remind you how bad sin is. That's sin. Do you have any questions?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Okay, so you were talking about.
Those wheels are burning up there, aren't
Yes, they are, I know, I had to write it down, I've been writing stuff down all the time.
Mhm.
So man is created triune, I
Yes.
get that.
Hmm.
So you're saying animals are created triune?
Well, are they?
Yes, but,
Well,
here's my
Well,
question.
now, wait a minute.
But,
Animals are created triune.
Yes.
Do they have bodies?
yes,
Do they have souls?
well, I guess,
Well, what does it
That's
say?
what it says.
Yes, what it says. Okay.
Yes.
So we don't have any objections to them
No.
having souls because it says they have souls.
right,
Do they have spirit?
yes,
Okay. So are they triune?
yes.
Okay.
So here's my question.
Okay. Now, can I answer this question?
I hope you can.
Okay.
So it says that man is made in God's image. It
Yeah.
doesn't say animals were.
No.
So it says man is made in God's image, so here's my question. So what is the difference between man and animals if we were all created triune? And I thought the Bible says that man was created in God's image.
He is created in God's image.
Right.
Absolutely. And when we
Right.
kill another man, we are killing the image of God
Because Jesus came as a man, and
Yes.
Jesus died for
as a man.
And he died for mankind to
Yes.
redeem the whole world. I get that.
The whole-
But we as humans have to accept Jesus Christ. But if animals are triune, where do they fall into all that?
I don't know.
Thank you. Thanks for being honest.
I don't understand everything I
I
know
don't
about
either.
it. I don't.
Because see, I was always raised that animals don't have souls, and so that's kind of how I raised my kids. Oh, is the dog going to go to heaven? Well, I don't know, honey. I mean, in the end times, and it talks about the new earth that the lion will lay with the lamb. So yeah, I think there'll be.
There are going to
animals
be
in heaven.
dogs. There are going to be
Yeah,
lions.
and
There are going to be
I said,
animals there.
but is it going to be that dog or that cat? I don't know.
I don't.
And I said,
Is it possible?
That's what I told him. I said, yeah, it's possible, but I
Mhm.
don't know. And I said, but we have to go back to scripture that, Jesus died for mankind. But I would always say that it says here, and it says it in other parts, that for God made man in his own image. I said, so it doesn't say that God made animals in his own image, but yet you're saying they're triune. So
They're
there's
triune.
a dichotomy here that I'm having a little issue with.
Well, yeah, because we don't look at it in English, do we? We didn't look at it in English.
You mean
We
didn't
look
look
at
at
it
it-
out in Hebrew, and we know that animals have souls. We know they have spirits, and we know they have life. And where is the life? When we kill an animal, we must respect its blood. It's living. It's a living individual life, so we must do that. And even to this day, we should consider its life sacred, because it's God's life is in it. It's not made in the image of God, is it? No. When you kill a man, you kill the image of God, haven't you? You have. When you kill an animal, you better remember that it has life in it.
So is the difference the fact that God's spirit dwells in us and God's spirit does not dwell in animals? Is that
God's
the
spirit,
difference?
the spirit in all animals, when it dies, goes to God who gave it.
Yeah, but
No, I don't-
But when we accept Christ, that's
spirit-
our brand to go to heaven.
But see, we have the spirit of Adam in us, don't we?
Right.
When God saves us, that spirit is run off, and we
Right.
have the spirit of God in us that marks us for the resurrection and all of that, okay?
Right.
And that's how we are led by the Spirit of God in us, that's in us at the point of salvation. Okay? Animals, I don't know. All I can say is they're sacred to God. All animals are sacred to God. I'm not sure about these ants and wasps and stuff, and hornets, and
Well, they
things
don't
like
have
that.
blood.
Well, not to some extent they don't.
Yeah, it's different. It's
Yeah.
an ectoskeleton, so it's a little bit
Yeah,
different. But
yeah.
but-
I mean, I'm just telling you that.
That's splitting hairs. I'm
Yeah.
not going to split hairs.
Yeah, but I don't know. I really don't know. Yes, animals can go to heaven. I think
totally
that's
believe that,
possible.
too. Yeah.
I think it's possible. I've seen some animals that are extremely wonderful, just wonderful spirits.
But they're not going to make a personal decision to accept Jesus Christ because it's not like
No,
that.
not like that. No, not like that.
They didn't fall, man.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
They,
the world fell, but it wasn't-
To you, to your dogs, to you, you know that you're God to your dogs.
Oh, I love my baby. I call him my boyfriend.
Yeah. They love you.
Yeah.
They really love you.
Yeah.
And they look at you like you are master. And they treat you like that. And if you do something to them harmful or mean to them, it breaks their hearts. You don't be mean to an animal like that. It breaks their hearts. It will really hurt them. You can just see them just hurt. Their little souls are hurt.
Well, when my dog does something he knows he's not supposed to, but I don't know he's done it yet,
Yeah.
he has a look on his face, and I'm like,
What does
have
that
you
tell
done?"
you? What does that
Yeah,
tell you?
because he knows. He
What
knows.
does that
knows
tell
I'll
you
be-
that he has a conscience?
He knows I'll be displeased with him.
Does he have a conscience?
Yeah.
Does he think?
Because I look right at him and I go, "What did you do?" And then he'll walk over to whatever he did, and I'm like,
Yeah, I did
"Seriously?"
it, Mama. I did it, Mama.
Yeah.
I really did it. We see all that. I don't understand everything about this. I just know it's there.
Right.
Many people deny it, don't they? Have you ever heard preachers deny they have souls?
Well, see, that's
You know
how
why?
That's how I was raised.
Yeah. Well,
So, but as I'm digging and I'm reading and learning, I'm like, But I knew it
you have to
wasn't-
rethink everything.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you study the Bible deeply,
Right.
you got to rethink everything.
Yeah.
It just rearranges your mind, doesn't it? Now, if you don't want to go deep, don't study Greek and Hebrew. Stay away from it.
Right.
If you don't want, Greek and Hebrew inoculates you from spiritual or what we call religious fads, because it'll inoculate you from them. I don't care what's going on in the religious world today. When you have this basic foundation, this pillar of foundation, which is a rock, it really holds you down fast, doesn't it? But it makes you think in ways, because not what comes from the pulpits always is the truth.
Right.
Is it? No. Because of their own personal opinions. Am I giving you my personal opinion of this? Do you see it? No. It's not my opinion. This is the Bible. I have to form my opinion around the Bible, but I am responsible to you to tell you what the Bible says. Would you have ever known this had we not done this in Hebrew?
No.
No. You're not going to see it. Not going to see it. So what has Hebrew done for you, Brother Roger? Opened up doors,
Yeah,
hasn't it?
stretched my mind.
Doors of understanding. Doors of understanding. Brother Abe, that's the language of God, isn't it? I've heard you say that's God's language. Hebrew, I believe, is God's language.
It makes me, and I've told this to you before, it makes me regret and lament, which I don't live there because I can't do, they can't beat yourself up, that I hadn't learned this and was studying this deeply when my kids were growing up so that I could immerse them more.
Yes.
Because I'm doing it now, but they're older. And so it's kind of.
You already got to reteach them.
I have to reteach them, which they're.
See, your mama taught you wrong. Now I have to tell you what's
yes,
right.
Yes, and they're receiving it.
Yeah.
But it's just which is a praise, because obviously that says something about they're raising anyway, that they're willing to re-listen to me and
Rethink.
Because
you're rethinking. Say,
Yeah.
kids, I learned something today.
Yeah, right.
I've learned something.
Right.
You know how many times that I taught and preached so many years ago? How many of you heard me preach 30, 35, 40 years ago? Some of you have. You listened to the sermons I preached back then. I preached that hamartia meant to miss the mark. I told that. I said that. One day I went in there in my own library and chased that word, and I said, oh, my teachers lied to me. They know what they're talking about. Thayer's wrong. It doesn't mean to miss the mark. It means to go astray. Astokio means to miss the mark. Chatha means to miss the mark in Hebrew, but not hamartia. Romans 3:23 has both words in it. Both words. Both words. It shows them exactly what they mean. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory. For all have gone astray and fallen short, missed the mark. Sin, the word hamartia, is all have gone astray. To miss the mark is astokio. Miss the mark. And then I said, wow. I remember the first time when I felt like an egg-sucking dog. When I went to the first class after that, I have something to tell you people something. I've been lying to you for the last 30 years. Hamartia doesn't mean to miss the mark. I remember when I first told Roger, I said, Marty, it doesn't mean that, Mr. Marty. He said, oh, yes, it does. Thayer says it was. The lexicon say, I said, it doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that. But it says it does. I said, it doesn't mean that. It's a revelation. So then I go back and try to correct what I've done. And how many times did I teach it like that? Well, that was 20 years ago, so I've been teaching it rightly for 20 years. At least I can say that. 30 years I did wrong, and 20 years I've done right. Or somewhere around there. 25 years I taught it wrong, and 20 years I've taught it right. Brother Floyd, have you learned something? Yeah, learn it. You don't have to learn Hebrew. You don't have to learn Hebrew. You have to learn what the Hebrew says. That's what you learn. You learn what the Hebrew says. And then you run with it there. You can go look all these up. Look down here. It's all the page numbers. You can look at them up in the page numbers and see what it said in the lexicon. All we're doing is showing you what the Hebrew Bible says. And the Hebrew Bible is the inspired word. Tense, mode, and voice. Beautiful. New Testament, tense, mode, voice. Everything is all inspired. That's what it says. It'll keep your theology straight if you let it. If you allow it to keep your theology straight, it will. Do you have any other questions?
Dr. Bridge,
Yes.
can I share about the learning Korean language?
Well, say something.
I hope it will help you guys. In Korea, we call the learning or researching and studying, we call like a Chinese letter, we write like this. This is learning.
You act like he knows how to do that.
This is door. Door has mouth. So learning means, learning study means how to ask. Learning how to ask is learning in Korean or Chinese. Learning how to ask. This is learning.
That's me.
That's good. That's good. Good.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Asking.
Yeah, because my dad, I was raised, my dad said, hey, all they can tell you is no. Just ask.
You have any other question? Floyd, you got a question? Pamela? Young lady, you have a question? All right. Anything else? Brother Roger, you probably asked me something I don't know. Sharon? No. Let's have a word of prayer. Brother Floyd, would you dismiss in prayer, brother?